Before we get started, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to who I am. My name is Billy Stanley. I also happen to be Elvis Presley's stepbrother. I spent 17 amazing years with him. I'd like to tell you my story, what happened to me on May 19th, 2018, this year. I suffered a heart attack, stroke, and seizure, all three at one time. I died. How long I was died, I don't know. It was probably 3 or 4 minutes. But what happened is that I didn't feel anything. There was no pain or anything. I didn't know. The only thing I remember is I was conscious, and I was in a place where it was the most wonderful place I've ever been in my life. The first feeling you feel is love, and then you get this sense of peace and calm about you. There's no sense of time. I looked around, and I could see off in the distance a city. And another thing I noticed right away, it's happy. And there's lots of people, there's millions of people. You can see them, you can't make out who they are, but it's like when you're traveling in a car or something, you see people in the distance, you can't really make out who they are until you get close to them. So immediately, I looked around and I noticed, for any of you that have ever been flying before and been above the clouds, it looks like clouds that you're standing on, except it's a flat surface, just like a floor. So I looked down and I looked around and I could see, and I went, well, to myself, I was, okay, I'm gonna walk toward this city and see, explore this place. So I started walking toward it. And here again, I mean, normally when I walk, that people know me or have ever walked with me, I walk very fast, but I was in no hurry. I was enjoying this feeling that I had of love and peace and serenity, and was just kind of walking. It was like I'm walking around, just absorbing everything that was going on. And I see two figures as I'm walking. I walk up, and one of them turned around, and it was Elvis, my brother. And he had the biggest smile on his face. And I walked up to him, and he was with another person, and I didn't know who that person was until he stepped aside. And when he stepped aside, it was Bruce Lee. They were practicing karate moves. And I just, out of the blue, I said, would you like me to teach you how to do this? And they both kind of laughed a little bit and said, sure. So I showed them. I can't really do it because my shoulder's messed up now physically, but up there I did the move perfect. Elvis put his arm around me and smiled and said, welcome. So all of a sudden, everything started getting dark around me. It just started closing in. I mean, it was darkness, and it was in like a big circle, and that's all I could see. And I started hearing a voice in the background saying, please don't leave, please don't leave. And I knew who that was. I knew it was Liz, the love of my life. And then Elvis looked at me, and the great thing about heaven is they don't have to speak directly to you. You can hear, I mean, he put these thoughts in my mind. And so what he said was, tell the family, my friends, and my fans, I love them. I'm looking forward to seeing them. But in all this time, this circle starts closing in, and it's closing in around Elvis's face. Then there was another voice, a voice that I've heard many times, because I pray, but I also talk to God, and he answers me. He talks to me, just like I talk to people on the street. And I do this at home, by myself, with nobody around. And he told me, he said, pass this on, Billy. This is the most important part of this message, was no doubt. And what that means is there's no doubt there is a heaven. I'm like many other people in this world. Unless I experienced it, of course, I've always been a believer. I always have been. But I actually saw it firsthand for myself. So I know there is a heaven, and no worry. What that meant, the other part of the message, what God was telling me was no worry. If you believe in him with all your heart and soul and talk to him and just acknowledge him, that's where you're going to go. That's the message. I want all my friends to understand. If you believe and believe with all your heart and soul, like I have pretty much all my life, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go to one of the, the human mind can't even fathom how great it really is there. And that's what I want for you. And that is my message from God and from Elvis to get shared to you. They want you there. Thank you for your time.